Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, where our goal is to expand your focus and perspective on life. This is your daily dose of motivation, mindfulness, and so much more. And now, here to help you take your day back, your host, Dan Hafner.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome into another episode of the Run Your Day podcast. As always, your host, Dan Hafner, coming at you here. Got a special guest on today's show by the name of Lindsey Cassell. Cassell, right?
Yeah,
okay,
Cassell.
Yes. Lindsey Cassell of A-Plus Adulthood.com. She has a new project that she's been undertaking here for about 2 months. So we're catching her at the very, very beginning stages of this. Teaches various adult skills, a lot of things that a lot of us, especially millennials, were really not taught in school. So I think it's really, really cool. We're going to dive in today here with her for a little bit. So as always, thank you all for joining. Sit back and relax and enjoy. Today should be pretty awesome. So Lindsey, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. This is really exciting. This is my first interview on a podcast ever. But of course, I follow podcasts all the time. So it's really cool to be on the other side right now. I'm Lindsey. I'm with A-Plus Adulthood. It's a new project I just started about 2 months ago. I've been thinking about doing it for a long time, and it's basically, like Dan said, to just teach you adult skills. I know we don't learn a lot in school, and I think as time goes on, we're learning even less applicable skills. And I think that a lot of people are kind of not liking how it's going once they actually get to adulthood. So I want to do something to change that.
Awesome. So when you say they're not liking it, I mean, what are they not liking about it?
So I think, in school you learn a lot about history, you learn a lot of math, and I don't know about you, I loved school. It was fun to learn about all that. But once I got to adulthood, I felt like I had all this free time and I didn't know what to do with it. And then I didn't really know how to behave at work like I thought I would. I mean, I'd worked a lot before I got my full-time job, but it was so different. And once I started talking to my friends about it, once, you got past seeing how perfect their lives are on social media, everybody's kind of feeling the same way. I mean, whether you're out of high school or out of college, especially if you were like me and you're kind of a try-hard, got involved in a lot of things, I felt like I never really had time to think about just things like I have since I graduated from college a couple years ago.
Okay, no, I completely get that. I mean, I've been out of school, I think about 5 years now. And man, I completely get where you're coming from with the free time. Like it's a vacuum, right? Because
it is.
You're trying to do your job, but you also feel like, if you live by yourself or you live with someone else, there's like a vacuum there, and it's a time waster. It's like a black hole, right?
Yeah, exactly. And especially I found myself spending a lot of time on Instagram. Like I would scroll through Instagram and I'd be like, 15 minutes would go by. And that's not really that long, but 15 minutes 4 times a day is like an hour. And you're like, okay, I could have gone to the gym for an hour. I could have like made a new friend. I could have gone on a date. I don't know how long people date for. I've been in a relationship for a long time, but yeah, it's just, there's so much time you have, and then you have to find hobbies to do. So I felt like this was a really good use of time. Deleted Instagram off my phone. Then I had to get it again because I do social media for work, but it's just, it feels better to have something to do to impact other people's lives.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I mean, it's funny you say this because I was actually earlier this week kind of had a conversation with someone else that I work with about mobile phones and how it's become like this just time sucker and waster of our complete lives. So it's awesome. You're definitely onto that. So, okay. So what are you trying to accomplish, with A-Plus Adulthood? Like what is your, what was your why behind why do this?
Well, so I have this friend who I work with, and she didn't go to college the same way I did, which is totally fine, but she definitely has struggled with some things in life. And I would just hear her talk about it, and she like didn't really know how to handle credit cards or money, or like even like finding a place to live, those kind of things. And so she was kind of my inspiration to start this. And then I joined this group when I was thinking about doing this. I joined this group on Reddit. It was the adulting channel, and there's so many people on there that just, they're like me, like they don't really feel like they like know what to do. They feel like they're lacking direction. So I actually took a survey of those people on that channel. I got about 100 responses, and about 50% of people said that they struggled with money, which I didn't find surprising because, I mean, everybody struggles with money. There's no getting around it. Even millionaires, I mean, they spend so much and they don't know where their money is going. I think that was a big inspiration for me, because I was lucky enough to have parents that literally for as long as I can remember have told me, like, don't spend beyond your means, pay your credit card in full. And so I want to help teach people that, because not everybody's as lucky as I was to have those kind of parents.
That's awesome. I mean, that's one thing that I've recently gone through also is I had parents that taught me the same type of things, and then going out on my own, I kind of forgot a lot about those things. And I ran into some credit card debt and some things of not knowing how to manage my money. And then especially since my wife and we're coming up on a year of being married, and kind of getting our finances all in order. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot, especially if you're both working, and then, I mean, you have 2 dogs, they're probably a handful. And just having that debt it's literally like a waste of money, and you don't know, because you're like, oh, I have a $10,000 credit limit, I can spend $10,000, and nobody's really telling you that, like, oh, you actually have to have the money or else they're going to charge you 20%, which is insane to me that credit card companies do that, because that's just so much money. I mean, you spend $100 and then you have to pay $120 just to spend that $100.
No, I completely get it, and I will come out and say that, like, I have learned that lesson the hard way. I really have.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people do. And it's good that you guys, I mean, you learned early. You've only been married a year and you're already starting to get that in order. Some people go 20, 30, 40 years without learning that lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think especially, I know we as millennials kind of catch a lot of crap about, our preferences and the way we conduct our lives and the things that we like to do and the whole 9 yards, right? But I think we live in such a different world. Like it's so different, like our parents were brought up kind of in a world where you could go to work or go to school and go to work and get a decent job, and they didn't really have a lot of student debt or a lot of unnecessary like credit card debt and things like that. Whereas people like in my situation, you go to school, you take on a lot of debt because prices have skyrocketed, and then you get a job making $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 a year. I mean, it doesn't really cut it anymore. You know what I mean?
And okay, first of all, I will say I do love avocado toast, but I make it at home. Or I'll order it, if I'm going on a company business trip and they're like, oh, Lindsey, breakfast. I'm like, well, I don't like eggs, so I'll get avocado toast.
Gotcha.
Anyway, I think a lot of people now, especially their parents, they think that going to college is like the way to get a great job and, have a good life. And I think for a lot of people that's true. But for a lot of people, they don't really consider their options. Like community college is such a good option for people who want to have less debt. I know a lot of people went to community college, and they're like winning Oscars now, they're becoming doctors. Like it's a great setup as long as you can get out on time. But also trade schools, I think people should consider more, because, they'll go to college and they'll major in gender studies or, English literature. English literature isn't as bad, but I think, they're getting things, nobody's asking for you to have a degree in gender studies, even psychology, which I started by majoring in psychology. When I was looking for jobs, I realized nobody's asking for anybody with a psychology major. Like, I'd have to go on and get my master's or my PhD in psychology and become a therapist, which I didn't want to do. I don't think I could handle that. Bless all those therapists out there doing the good work. So I think a lot of people aren't thinking ahead when they're thinking about going to college. Like, okay, how will this pay off?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so I think we've talked a lot about that. So, like, let's switch gears a little bit. Like, what other things besides money management are you finding that a lot of people are needing or wanting as far as a service?
Yeah. So again, when I did that survey, I was surprised to see that about 30% of people were struggling with direction in life. They would say, oh, like, I have a lot of leisure time and I don't know what to do with it. And I'm like, wow, that's exactly how I feel. Like, what do I do with my leisure time? Like, I live with roommates and I don't live too far from work. So I have a lot of free time. I can only go to the gym so much. So a lot of people struggled with that. So I actually recently wrote a post about how to make friends as an adult, because I think a lot of people struggle with making friends in real life, because when you're not in school, you don't have all those opportunities to automatically make friends. So I think making friends and having a direction is one thing. And then about 10% of people said that they didn't know how to succeed in their jobs. So I think things with succeeding in a job, like asking for a raise or negotiating your salary, or just how to interact with your boss, I think those are things that people find valuable and something that people are looking for, but don't necessarily know who to talk to about.
Wow, that's crazy. 30%, no direction in life.
Yeah, and I struggled with it too, because I'm totally a tryhard, and like I said, I love school, so I would like go on and I would have purpose, oh, I need to get an A in this class. Oh, I need to choose this class so that I can graduate. Oh, I need to get this job so that I can get this job when I graduate. And everything was to get a job. But once I got there, I was like, oh, what do I do? And I think a lot of people are feeling that. So there's definitely more to life than just having your job. I mean, to some people, their job might be their life. They might be having the impact that they want. But I think for a lot of other people, they don't really get that feeling of fulfillment from their job.
Yeah, there's how to have a good life, and then there's how to be good at life.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Interesting. Okay, that's really, really cool. Okay, so that's awesome. I really think what you're doing is really, really cool. It's really, really useful. But I wanna push you a little bit here.
Ooh, okay.
So let's get a little real. Okay. I want you to talk about a time either recently or before in your life where you faced some kind of crazy adversity. Okay. Take some time, think about it if you need to. Like, what was a time where you faced some adversity, whether it was financially, whether it was socially, emotionally, whatever it was, and tell us a little bit about it and what you did.
Sure. Okay, this is hard. I always cry when I talk about it. I'm like one of those people that cries at animal commercials, so don't be upset. But so I throughout college, I was dating this guy that he was like my high school sweetheart or whatever. We were dating for several years, and just kind of towards you have that on and off phase. You're like, oh, we should break up, and then you're like, oh, we should get back together, that kind of thing. And so at this point, I was in school. I was a double major. I was working a job or two. I was president of a sorority, which it is so much work, like being on the executive board of anything in college, because you have all these people that you can't fire and you have to figure out how to work with. So I was already really busy with school, and anyway, there was this guy, and he just kind of like went off the deep end, and like it was becoming like an emotionally abusive relationship. And I mean, there was so much more that went into it, but he basically became like really jealous and really controlling, and it was scary because this is somebody that you trust, with 5 years of history or whatever, and you think what they're saying is true, but at the same time that it's not, but then you want to protect their feelings but also your own sanity. And it was really hard, like going through that and trying to balance my life. And it was my senior year, so I was trying to get a job too, and it was I'm just trying to describe like how much it rattled my life, and just like being told that I wasn't good enough, that I was stupid, that I was an idiot, and all these things. And like when I tried to say something about like, this is not healthy, like you need help, like having it blamed on me, that like I was the one with the problem. So that was definitely like one of the hardest things I've had to do, and like trying to break up with him and then like him not allowing me to. It was really hard. And so I sought the help of actually a lot of my sorority sisters helped just be like, Lindsey, like that's not okay. If like I've heard you talk about him before and you've never talked about him like this. So it was hard to let something like that go, because I mean, I don't even really let friendships go, but I mean the fact that he was trying to isolate me from literally all of my friends really, and even like going to class was hard because he would just like be like, why aren't you answering me? So that was really hard. But I think that it taught me a lot about what a healthy relationship was, and it gave me a lot of insight into other girls' relationships. Like it's so hard now to hear about like a friend who has a relationship like that, because the reality is, I mean, even on both sides, like girls can do it too. Just unhealthy relationships are just really a downer on your life, and I'm glad that I had the support system I had, because I was only in that situation for maybe 5 or 6 months. But I know people who have been in a relationship like that for years, and like even like a family member like had that happen to him recently, and then when there's kids involved, like it's the worst.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through, and I'm just really glad that I'm out of it now. But it was hard even like after I got into another relationship, like way after that. It was hard because I would start, you have these expectations of people, and you kind of expect that person will be like your last person. And so getting kind of past that on my own through a lot of like encouragement and tears definitely helped. So yeah, now I want to ask you, what's a hard thing that you had to go through now that I've like
flipped the script. Well, okay, we can get there. But yeah, thank you. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I really had no idea what you were going to talk about, and that's I've seen relationships like that in my life. I've never been a part of one, thankfully, but man, I've seen men act that way, and it really breaks my heart for both people, right? Because there's so much more to life, and there's than being stuck in something like that. But as you were telling that story, I couldn't help but like just kind of hear that there's a lot of power inside of that for you. Like there's a lot of power if you dig into that and you really think like what you really got out of that, and really what you went through and how it can help other people. Man, you could really tell a good story about that and help some people. I really think you could.
Oh, thanks. Maybe I'll have to publish it on my blog. It's so raw. I'm like scared that he's gonna find it or something. Because I know, as much hurt as I had, I'm sure he had just as much. So
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing, one of the things I've learned in going and digging deep into myself and my mind over the past year is that, the deeper you're willing to dig to find like the shitty stuff that you carry around, the more liberating it is. Like the further you can go down, the higher you'll go. The higher, like it's weird to think about it that way, but it's true. It really is.
And it's so hard for me to do that because I enjoy pushing things away. I even tried to go to therapy for it, and I ended up asking the psychologist about what's your life like? Do you have any siblings? Are you close? It did not work for me, and maybe I just didn't have the right therapist, but it was so hard for me to take that deep dive. And honestly, the only thing that has really ever helped me was journaling. I've been doing that since I was, preteen. And that's what's helped me the most. So if anybody listening to this is going through something like that, don't think that it's not a big deal, because that's what I thought. And I hesitated to call it an abusive relationship because, he never hit me. He threw things in my general direction, but never hurt me physically. It's kind of worse because you're not seeing that pain.
It's hidden. It's hidden, right? It's buried. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's funny you say journaling, because that's so I used to make fun of my wife for meditating and journaling, and now I meditate and journal every single day, every
it's a fantastic habit.
Yeah, and it's so funny how I flipped that script. So it's just one of those little nuggets I caught in there. I was like, yeah, you're definitely right.
So when you say meditating, I've been hearing this a lot from people, and I don't really know what it means, because I always thought meditating was the yoga with the clearing your mind, which is pretty much impossible. I've never tried to really, I've tried to clear my mind and it's never worked. So what do you mean when you say meditation?
So the thing about meditation, and I'm no expert, but the thing about meditation is the only wrong type of meditation is no meditation. It can be literally as simple as sitting there and breathing and just concentrating on your breath. It's meditation at its most basic form, right? If you're really interested and you want to get started, a way to do it, there's a bunch of apps out there. And the one that I use is called Headspace.
Yeah, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, and he walks you through all of the things you need to do. You go through different packs, different things. You do have to pay for it eventually for a year subscription or whatever. But man, it's worth it. It's $50-$60 or something for the year. And it's really,
I
really
gotta
worth
do something with my iTunes gift card. So
yeah, there you go. So yeah, there's so many different levels of it, and it's a journey. It really, really is. So, okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll start wrapping things up here, but where do you see yourself headed with with A-Plus Adulthood? What's your goals?
So my main goal is to get an A-Plus Adulthood course put into high schools. So I'd love to put together something, and I'm planning on doing this on the website, but eventually I want it to be part of a high school curriculum where they at least have to come to one night of an A-Plus Adulthood boot camp or something, where they learn about finances, they learn about how to find housing, responsible relationship management, and succeeding in jobs, and even finding friends, just kind of how to be a responsible adult. And yeah, that's my end goal with it. I'm probably years off of that, but it definitely keeps me going every day with this.
You got to have a big ass goal. You got to have something to chase. There's ways to break it down into smaller things that you can achieve immediately, but you got to have that big burning why of that would be really, really cool. I think you got
It'd be awesome. And some states are starting to mandate that they have finance classes. So I think I can probably piggyback off that. Although I don't see California mandating that anytime soon.
Yeah. Okay. That's really, really cool. And I mean, for anyone out there listening to this, you think you might get some value out of it. I mean, obviously, Lindsey does have some A-Plus Adulthood skills since she's been through some stuff. She might be young yet, but I mean, you can't really replace life experience, you know?
You can't. And I definitely want to learn from people that are older than me because I'm 25 and I don't have as much life experience as a lot of other people.
Good. All right. Well, I'll give you one chance here to just go ahead and, just promote your website, anywhere people can find you, ways they can get involved with you, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure. So like Dan said, you can find me at aplusadulthood.com. I have Twitter and Facebook. It's just A-Plus Adulthood, not the plus sign, but just spelled out plus. I'm pretty active on Twitter right now. That's my favorite social media. And right now I just have some blog posts on my website. So if you want to subscribe, I have an email list, and that's just on there. Or you can contact me through the form on my website.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much. Lindsey, thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate you. We wish you the best of luck. Maybe we'll even get to have you again on here down the road, and we'll check in with you and see how things are going.
That would be super fun. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. All right, everyone. That's Dan Hafner and Lindsey Cassell wrapping up today's episode of the Run Your Day podcast. As always, Dan Hafner signing off. Make it a great rest of your day.
Thank you for listening to the Run Your Day podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, feel free to share today's show with friends and family. Until next time, have a great day.